This is really a beautiful moment. I want to do a clapping once again. Shall we do that?
Thank you, Avanti. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this session. And thank you, Nithin, for joining us. I first heard of Nithin only in the pandemic. And this is when I finally made a Demat account. To buy an IPO, which I won't talk about, because I lost money on that.
All of them then.
I never logged back again, I'm sorry. I don't do trading. But that gave me an opportunity to learn about your journey, how you operate. I read about some of your colleagues, how they've been, especially your CTO, all of that. And it was a dream to get Nithin together with Sridhar. They've spoken before, they've never met. So thank you, Bangalore, for making that happen. We'll keep it very conversational, and I want all of you also to get a chance to ask them questions, both of them. But what I want to start with is, I want to understand for both of you, how was your childhood? What drove you curious? And what led to this, where you are? We can start with you, Sridhar, maybe?
Nithin goes first.
Okay,
Come on.
sure, Nithin?
I get enough playtime.
Okay.
No, for me, firstly, it's like one of those fan moment, spending time with Sridhar for the last 30 minutes. So I've looked up to Sridhar for many years now. And you're not alone, when pandemic hit, I think there were 3 to 4 crore Indians who decided to open Demat accounts, so, and yeah, my childhood, my dad was in Canara Bank, he took us around the country. But from my 9th standard, I've been in Bangalore. I've always been into sports, so I've played almost all type of sports. My mom used to teach the veena, so there's music in the family, so I picked up a bunch of instruments. But I started trading the markets quite early as well. So I was
Early means like what age?
around 17, it is. I was living around people who used to trade the markets. A bunch of Marwadis, and
Is there a legal age to start trading?
I mean, it was my mom's account. Yeah, but you can't trade less than 18. You need to be 18.
You can't, right?
You can't.
Okay, so we already have a rule breaker, at least a couple of them on the stage today. But good, okay.
Yeah. So I started trading. I kind of, saved some money. I blew up in 2001. I worked in a call center between 2001 to 2005. And 2005, quit my job, started a portfolio advisory business, became a franchisee of a larger broker firm in 2006. 2008, when the markets fell, made some money, and my younger brother had joined me by then. He's a much...
Markets fell and he made money?
Yeah, I was short on the markets.
See?
No, I think like what most people don't understand is short really makes money a lot faster than longs. In the sense, climbing stairs takes you like...
Also loses money faster, right?
Yeah, either way, absolutely, yeah. Like if you were to climb up 10 floors, it takes you 10 minutes, but if you want to jump down, it happens in like 10 seconds. So you can make money faster when the market's falling. But yeah, Nikhil joined me, a much better trader than I am. So, he decided to build, continue trading, and I said, is there a way to build a better broker than what we had as traders? Yeah, so that's really how Zerodha started in us.
Thank you. Sridhar, your childhood.
I think I've already talked about this. Why
We have a lot of new people here who would love to see where you grew up.
All I can say is that at 17, I didn't even know there was something called the stock market. Okay, serious. That was, I grew up in Chennai. I mean, mostly between village and Chennai, I was shuttling, village in Tanjavur and Chennai. And at least I was of that time and age where my father still thought of Chennai as we are here temporarily. I think a lot of people think that way, right? They moved to Chennai, but they didn't think they had moved to Chennai. They think we are of that place, we are just here for making a living. That's why I think. So that is how that mindset he transferred to me. So I'm still a country boy that way, right? You
Quite
happen to be in Chennai because your father had a job there, but you are actually from the village kind of thing.
And a country boy now, quite literally.
Yeah,
living in
that's why I went back, right? I wanted to go back. Actually, I used to beg my mother every year, I'll go to school there. It's the same syllabus. Everything is the same, right? Why don't I go? My mother would never let me. Now I tell her I have my revenge. So I moved. So that was my childhood. Then IIT was the 17, 18, I was in IIT. But even then actually business was the last thing. I really thought I'll become a professor. And I was very into the whole mathematical models I attack now. You have to realize why I attack so vehemently. I was into all that all the time. I actually thought I'm going to prove theorems. And a few theorems, and that would be my life, right? Now I go and attack all the people who prove those theorems in economics and whatnot. So I was into that. That was my life when I was in this thing. I actually thought that I would do this even when I was 16, 17. Because I had I was unusually interested in only the mathematical part of it. So it's even now, my intelligence is to think of those things. I mean, what would the model look like for this? So I actually understand my enemies well. That's how I'll put it now. Yeah.
All right. Nithin, question to you, because you got into trading early on. That became your passion. And today that is your business pretty much. I mean, that's the foundation of it. And yet, you're running a company that is private, right? How did it so happen that money did not become a factor here, and why did you not raise money? How did that happen in your mind? Because when you're talking about shorting, making money, and all of that, the impression it comes out is you were in it to make money, to be honest, right? Why would you not raise money now when you have the choice of raising money? What stops you?
Yeah, so 2010, when we started the business, was really like the worst time for stockbroking ever. Coming back on global financial crisis, the markets had plateaued. I mean, the activity had plateaued. So people were diversifying. No one was becoming a stockbroker, right? So 2010, 11, 12, I did go out speaking to VCs. Thankfully, they didn't give the money. So because if we had raised it, I think there was no way getting away from that journey, right? As in, you would have had to force to go raise more and etc. So I think around 2012, 13 is when I started interacting with the startup circuit of sorts. Because I still remember the first event I went to. People said CAC, Mao, DAO, and all. I was like, dude, what's happening? So, once I started interacting with the startup circuit, I kind of realized that in this business there are two ways to do well. One is you get into the fight of deepest pocket wins. And two is do stuff that's very hard for others to copy, right? And in our business, so it's like there's no cut, copy, paste. It works for every business, right? But in our business, what we realize, and especially in financial services and where you're selling financial products to customers, what is right for the investor is hardly ever right for the customer, right? In the sense, like I as a platform, right? As in the easiest thing for me to do today is lending. Because I have all the data in the world. I can lend, I can build like a few $100 million revenue. But we have not done it, right? And that's a stance we've taken because we believe that in an investing platform, loans don't fit very well, right? I mean, I could very easily greed trigger to people to buy, borrow to, kind of trade more, right? So that's a moat, right? And the fact that I can take that stance is a moat that people appreciate. Right, and that understanding, I think, I kind of realized between 2012, 13, 14, saying that
the high rollers will avoid you, right?
Right?
The high rollers, they call it in Las Vegas.
Right.
The people who pay most of the bills for the casino, they won't like this because they can't borrow.
Right. Yeah. So I think it was challenging last 1-2 years because where people started saying, what, I'll give you a blank check. Because, like Robinhood is at $90 billion valuation. You are X of that, I mean, so you want to, right? But I think it's also philosophically, I think, I kind of grew over time. I think a lot of credit goes to Kailash, who's our CTO. He's like my life guru of sorts. And so this whole drive of, being in it for money to being in it for impact and, what are you, eventually trying to do as a person, as a business. So those questions kind of, started answering around 2014, 15 onwards. So today, I mean, like incrementally money has meant nothing. Like, like personally it has meant nothing over the last 3-4 years. So more money today means almost meaningless, so, and I think, as a business, we are in a position to create maximum impact the way we are operating. And hence, yeah, we've decided to remain private.
If you were to start Zerodha today in current market conditions, would you still say the same?
It's impossible to build a Zerodha today again, because we were at right place, right time, like a zillion times, and in 2022, with all the competition, with all the cost of of employing people, it's impossible to start today's Zerodha bootstrapped. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest problems I have with the startup ecosystem is that today, just to have a minimum viable product, you need to spend like a couple of $1 million, right? Which means you're kind of forcing everyone to go raise money, because it's just so hard to build a business,
But
Sridhar,
if you are in
Sridhar,
Patna, that's not true, though. If you are in Patna, you don't have to spend $2 million to build an MVP. It's, of course, you have to move yourself to Patna, and or actually, I'm serious. There is a lot of opportunity. If I were 25, I'd simply up and move to Eastern UP or Bihar right now. I'm serious. So those of you who are young or thinking about this, do this. It's good for our country. It's good for our youth. It's actually, you will make a lot of money also. Somewhere along next 10, 20 years. But there's so much talent there. It's going waste. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, so my question was to you, if we were to do Zoho again today, how would we make it?
I would move myself to Patna right now. Serious.
Anybody from Patna, UP, Bihar here? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because see, there's equally smart people there as here. It's just an accident of whatever history or not whatever happens, right? I mean, I know these accidents. Tenkasi is purely a random throw of the dice where we are. And we have about 750 engineers there from surrounding districts. We could make a life-changing change there. But it could be in any district in India, right? It could be in somewhere near Patna. I think we need, so if you are a visionary, if you are a young person who wants to make a dent in the world, do this. It's actually, you will be happy you did this. You'll be happy in 10 years. Initially, it'll be hard. But today, it's well connected, right? We can get your internet connection. You can still be on Twitter, like I am, right? So.
All right, so my next question is to understand how have the last 3 years actually changed the way you operate, the way you think, and the way business is being run? I hate to use the word pandemic, so you can see I avoided that.
Right.
But my question is, how did that change in the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, I think the business truly for us hit economies of scale at pandemic. We were at 2 million customers with 1,100 people on the team. We are at like close to 11 million customers at 1,100 people on the team, right? So, in terms of our infra costs and all the, see, the thing is, everything at Zerodha is free and open source. So Kailash and our tech team are, big proponents, big contributors to the FOSS. So, the cost didn't scale up as a business scaled up. And yeah, even on the people side, we did some things which I think I should have done a long time back. So we had a 500-member inbound sales team. Essentially, if people are onboarding and they drop off, we used to call people up and say, why did you drop off, right? And I mean, I thought it was being effective for like 10 years of my life, and then when pandemic happened, we couldn't hire people fast, so we had to transition some of these people to support because the business was scaling on the support side, and then we saw it made no difference to our conversions, so we moved 500 people from inbound sales to to support overnight. And yeah, so it was a big transition for the business, but customer ratings went up significantly, and I think the business just became a lot more efficient. I think we were also as a business, we have done one thing which is done well is we just have one product. All our 11 million customers have just one product. So it's very simple business to support. So if you walked into our office, even the admin guy will be able to sell you a demat and trading account and tell you the exact plan that comes along with it. So yeah, so one was around this whole economies of scale, etc. I mean, two is, see, I think I was a little late to the social media party. So in the sense, in 2011, Zerodha got its first feature on Economic Times, and it gave us a lot of impetus as a business. We went from opening 200 accounts a month to 500 accounts a month. Then I thought, what, I need to get the journalist on my side, and I started just traveling around the country, meeting journalists and trying to get press as much as possible. I think around 2017 is when I think the power of the press started winning. right? As in, we started seeing very little of that. And then I kind of realized that maybe you need to be present on social media yourself, not as a brand, because then they, your reach is kind of controlled by the platforms. They want you to advertise on the platform. So I became active on LinkedIn and Twitter in 2019, 20, and it's very tough to say, is it really helping the business or not? But
The question is, do you get trolled or not?
I don't even bother to look at it. So I fire and forget. Because I think if you get into that rabbit hole, I think it's very hard to stay on social media. So one thing that has also changed is our social media strategy itself has changed significantly. We've till date not spent a single rupee on marketing and advertisement. I think one of the reasons why, as a B2C, we could remain bootstrapped, right? Because in our low cost kind of a business, it's very hard to make 3,000 to 4,000 rupees from a customer, at our pricing. So today the cost of acquiring a user for a trading and demand account, if you take the marketing route, is between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees, right? So so we haven't, we're so borderline, compelled, forced, nudged to start taking the marketing and advertisement route. But we stayed away in this pandemic. I don't know if it's for the right or wrong, only time will tell. But because there was maximum interest to invest in the markets. So maybe, you kind of missed out by not marketing and advertising, but we have taken that stance. And I think that's it. Otherwise, businesses remain the same, as in nothing has really changed. Just that, there's a zero added to everything, in terms of revenues, profits, and everything else.
You spoke about $0 marketing or not spending money on marketing, and that's something that we spend money on marketing, of course, at our size and the line of business we are in. But we take inspiration from your content initiative, education initiative called Varsity. It's something that often comes up in our discussion and within Zoho, of what a phenomenal job you and team have put together on educating people, people like me who don't have a Demat account. That's a different story. I still lost money, but very well executed, very useful content for people to bring on board. And that's something that we at Zoho have been sort of trying to get better at, honestly speaking. And that's a very inspiring thing. Speaking of the last 3 years, see, one thing that we at Zoho have seen as we've grown phenomenally in the last few years is training people. And you are a fairly distributed company, is what I understand, quite like us. We have some concentrated units. Chennai is a big hub, but we have people elsewhere as well. And as we hire more people, training becomes a crucial thing. How do you train them, A, on the product, technology, all of that, but also how do you get people to work with each other, right? I'll give my story. I joined Zoho more than 10 years ago. I was born in UP. I live in Delhi. And the initial few years were honestly hard. I didn't know Tamil. Too bad I never picked it up. I should have. But it almost felt like, will I even be here in a couple of years, right? That's a distant memory today, and that was more because of how we are as a unit. But it's very hard to do that remotely, I would say. I have been remote all these years, 10 years plus. Okay? I would come to Chennai every couple of months, but how do you achieve that within your teams?
Yeah, so I think the way I think about it is how do you not let people go? So we've our tech team has lost 2 people over the last 7 years, which is kind of, I think, unheard of in the industry. I mean, it's a very small tech team, but we are a very closely bonded team. The core Zerodha team, which is out of the 1,100, maybe around 100, 150, maybe 4 people have left in the last 12 years, right? So the thing is, I think it's very hard to train people remotely, and one of the reasons we have taken a stance that we'll be permanent work from home is because I'm confident that we don't need to hire more people to grow the business, right? I mean, of course, on the tech and on the product side, we have these 2 teams, and we have said, hang around Bangalore because we meet up once a week or twice a week in the offices, etc. So that team is a very small team, like a sub 100 member team. But the largest support team, etc., I don't really think, we need to keep adding more people. Like today, the thing is my dad also, right? He judges the success of the business based on how many people work, right? Because every 2 months he'll come and say, Nithin, how many people are working, right? And I'm like, and a lot of people around me, measure success saying, how many people are working in the company. I mean, it makes no sense at all. Right? I mean, you'd rather be efficient than just hire more people. And so yeah, so we've been like, I was just talking to Sridhar as well. We've been very similar in terms of philosophy, in terms of hiring, which is undersell, over deliver. We've never hired people promising ESOPs or paying, I'll pay you more than this much salary. No one from IITs, IIMs, or anything like that. And for most people, we are like the first or the second job. And so I think, they've grown with the business, and hence there's more belonging in the business. It's a much harder way of building business. You can't build business quickly this way, but I think it's a lot more fulfilling, and just to see so many people around you grow. So and yeah. But coming back to your question, I don't think it is easy to do this remotely. Like you can maybe do easier functions like support, which doesn't require as much training. But if you're kind of grooming for leaders and your product teams and your tech teams, it's very hard to do it remotely. And for that, we are meeting in person.
And to add to this point, we talk about it's harder to build business this way. I mean, Tata was built this way. You go to Coimbatore today, essentially all the bigger, mid-sized to bigger companies were built this way. They're all 20, 30, 40 years in business. I'm thinking of like company like Precall. I visited. They have excellent automotive supplier with all the subsystems, all of that they do for leading OEMs. Outstanding team. And this company has been built for what, 40, 50 years. I met their founder, Vijay Mohan, who is now 72, but highly energetic, right? But this is the kind of company you don't hear about a lot. These are not going to list on NASDAQ and hot IPO, all that, but these are really the bread and butter of our economy. We need to build companies like this. In fact, those are the companies I take inspiration from, because it's not only hot, but it's durable, and the people who work, it's an extended family network. You're creating these institutions. And those are very vital for our nation building. It's not just company building, because the region, Coimbatore region, is prosperous because visibly you can see it. I mean, actually, in many respects, Coimbatore is more prosperous than Chennai. Even. You go there, Coimbatore, Tirupur, that belt, it's probably the richest region in India now. Maybe it'll compete with some region in Gujarat for it. Because, there's so much widespread prosperity there. That's because of all these companies. It's not like one flashy company that went IPO. It is all these companies that are together doing this. We need to build this region by region everywhere like this. Specialist firms. And this is the only way to do it. I mean, 15, 20-year journey.
Speaking of company building and talent, and you think about it in a way where how do you retain people, right? How do you really retain people? What's the answer to that question? And this question is to both of you, right? I mean, how do you retain people, right? Why are they in it for long, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think people have to be sold to the purpose for what the business is being built, right? I mean, it's as in...
But that's easy to put on the website. Every company has a mission.
No, but what
and a
you
vision.
say and what you do is not always the same, right? I mean, can you do what you're saying as a business? I think is a very important thing. I mean, see, we started the business, I mean, in 2010 saying, I want to make life of a trader better, right? Which was very small kind of attempt. Like my best case outcome when we started Zerodha was 100,000 customers. I said, if we get to 100,000 customers, we would have a ride in life, right? I mean, that was my goal, So, but then the ambitions grew, and today our ambition, I mean, the whole idea is that, I mean, as a business, we need to help people do better with their money. Have we done it? Not enough. I mean, there's a lot more to do. I mean, of course, we build nice platforms, but nice platform doesn't mean the guy who's using it knows how to use it well, right? And now, one of the problems with, while we have great education content, today the problem is, in a world full of clutter, people don't have the bandwidth to sit through content, right? So then, what's the point of putting all that content if people are not going to consume, right? I mean, it's good content, but there's maybe one new for every 1,000 people who land on the website and drop off in 3 lines of content consumption. So I mean, so the purpose, constantly inside the business, what we are questioning is, how do we help people do better with the money? I think India needs to be financialized. As in, you need money to move away from traditional, like assets like gold, real estate, into, being backing entrepreneurs. Right? Because, like Sridhar was saying, when the only way the country will grow is, if businesses do well in this country. And And we think we are in a point where, we are as a business today in a place where we can help businesses raise more local money. If businesses raise more local money, wealth creation happens in this country. If wealth creation happens, then distribution happens, and the country can grow inclusively, right? And not just in small pockets like what it is today. So that's a purpose. And every single thing that we do as a business today is driven towards that purpose. So people within the team know that what are we doing just for Shosha and what are you doing actually for the purpose, right? Every once in a while we might, on our chart, give this fancy feature, which makes no difference to anyone. In a sense, it doesn't help with the money building purpose, but you also have to do some Shosha as a business to get, some bells and whistles as a business to kind of, to attract customers. So we do that as well. But I think what keeps people together is really, if you can do what you're actually saying you are going to do as a business.
Sridhar?
Yeah, so to me, it's how you build it's extended family to me, how you build a family network that way. And this comes from subtle things, right? We share food, the company. In fact, one of the things we do is everywhere food. Every office, you go up, including now in our rural offices, now we have food. And it's not just employees, it's our contractors, our security people, our housekeeping, all of us eat together, right? This, to me, promotes a sense of belonging over time. Because, that builds an environment like a family, that eating together simply. This is very vastly underestimated, this idea, that I would strongly suggest. In fact, I should never treat food as an expense. This is essential. And this goes to our, spiritual philosophy. There's a saint near Trichy I go to, and he only gives two things. He only tells you two things. Please don't kill animals. Please feed everyone. That's it. That's it. That's all he says. He has no other message to you. You go there, you listen to this, you come back. There are some very rich people I have seen who are serving in his kitchen. People will come in a Benz and to serve in his kitchen. I've seen this myself. So why do they do it? Because they want meaning, and serving that food bring the meaning. So actually it does a lot of meaning, and it's, in fact, as I get older, one of my favorite projects is now, I thought about, okay, rich people travel, they have hotels, all that. How do poor people travel? So I want to build our old chatrams back. And we have very towns like Chatram. I want to build those back now. So that to me is the meaning of, I want to actually, if my wealth has any meaning, it's going to be feeding a lot more people, particularly our poorer 50, 60% when they travel, all of that. So these things promote belonging. They operate in mysterious ways, okay? This is not like there is a rational management doctrine you can give you in this. But the sense of belonging. A lot of people say this about the company, that I feel like I belong here. That's what you have to promote. And then the rest of it takes care of itself. And it's, as you know, Praval, very well, this event I showed about 3 a.m. I was not involved in the production of any of this, right? Other than my presentation, which was ready by 7 a.m., which is I'm the last one in always, right? But it's so many of you worked so hard. I mean, you have to give them all a round of applause, please. And why does it happen? Well, it also allows me to do other stuff, right? I'm working on my own programming language. Even I was working on it yesterday, even in the car while coming here. And I can do this because there are so many great people who are taking care of this. And that's a blessing. It's a blessing. I'm sure it's a blessing to them too, that I'm not micromanaging every affair because I'll screw it up. So that's why I'm saying that it's a lot of benefits like this that flows from this. And it's also, I get to sleep well at night. and Praval told me he didn't sleep for 2 days. I'm sorry about that, but I think Praval will, once he grows, he will get to sleep well at night, and maybe somebody else will not sleep well at night.
Honestly, a lot of us have worked really hard for this event the last few weeks.
Thank you, Praval.
And this doesn't get over. We're going to Mumbai and then to Delhi. Can we have a round of applause for the entire Zoho team once?
Please.
And thank you all, our customers, our partners who've come down here on a Monday morning. I know how busy it is. And just want to thank you all. One last question before we take a couple of questions from the audience. I know we are behind on time, but I can take that liberty today to sort of extend for 5 more minutes, probably. One last question, Nithin. Are you slightly controversial, could be potentially, are you a crypto believer, non-believer, or agnostic?
No, I have no idea what crypto is, to be very honest.
Sorry?
No, I have no idea what crypto is or does. So.
Okay, fine. Okay, we'll take that offline. Sridhar, you?
I probably until a year ago, I would have said totally I don't have any faith in it. But I actually follow a lady named Lynn Alden on the Twitter. You should read her. I mean, excellent writer, excellent thinker on a lot of economics topics. And I would say, I said if they were to award Nobel Prizes, they should be given to people like her, not to idiots like Bernanke, actually, seriously. No, seriously, she's a fantastic thinker, world-class thinker. She used to be an engineer. And she has her writings have persuaded me to take another look. But I'm still not persuaded. I'm not going to say I'm a believer. I've gone from crypto atheist to crypto agnostic now. I've moved there. But you go read her, and I told you, I said this in my Q&A before, about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network, the energy intensivity, all that. Then there's a Lightning Network that solves a lot of the problems for this. But it is, in other words, where I see potential, I'm still agnostic, you have to trust me, is that global trade in a system where you don't trust anybody, anything anymore, and gold cannot be transported over long distances easily. Could this come to play, something like a Bitcoin-based settlements? I don't know, but and with the Lightning Network, all of that, everybody would have it on their app, phone, and you have a wallet, Bitcoin wallet, all that. Could this happen? It's possible. In other words, there is a definition of money that I like, which is, money is the bubble that doesn't burst. Right? In other words, money is a self-referential value. It retains its value because everybody wants it to retain value, right? This is not my definition, okay? So I stole it from somewhere. But, so Bitcoin could be that bubble that doesn't burst. I mean, it seemingly has burst, right? From 60,000, it's gone to what, 18, 19, 20,000 now. But if it goes through a few cycles and retains some value, then it kind of gets elevated to maybe it will retain value that way. Then that global settlement, at least for global settlement, across countries where you don't have any trust, and trust is degrading, this could have a value. So I moved from the atheist column to maybe agnostic column, thanks to Lynn Alden's writings, I would say. So.
All right, thank you so much, both of you.